Last fall, Katt Williams lit a fire under the black comedy world. His radio interview with Atlanta radio station V103 ended up going viral, not only for the roast session where he verbally annihilated the show's co-host Wanda Smith, but he also gave a stinging critique of some of Hollywood's recent crop of black comedians like Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish, among others. A whole lot of shit has happened since then surrounding that interview, and we're about to talk about it right now. Happy New Year, everybody. We finally reached 100 subs. I want to thank you and let you know that I really appreciate each and every viewer. So if you enjoy underground, off-the-grid YouTube channels that talk that real shit, then you've come to the right place. Welcome home. All right, enough of that. Today we're going to talk about Wanda Smith getting fired, Tiffany Haddish absolutely bombing in Miami, and Kevin Hart turning down the Oscars gig. On January 3rd of this year, it was announced that Wanda Smith was being released from the Frank and Wanda morning show on V103 radio station in Atlanta. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the station is now owned by a company called Intercom, which acquired V103's previous owner CBS Radio in November 2017. Even though Intercom general manager Rick Caffey hasn't offered any reason for the firing, I think we all know why she was fired. It's speculated that Wanda wasn't only released because of her morning show's falling ratings, but also because of the way she conducted herself during and after the Katt Williams interview last fall. At one point after the interview, her husband, Lamore Sellers, who is in no way affiliated with V103, called the station to check Frank's ski about what happened, which I believe was totally inappropriate. Well, pulling a gun on Katt was worse, but I covered that on a previous video. If you didn't see that, click on the link in the corner. Now, I honestly think Wanda took her roasting way too seriously. I could see if Katt called her a bitch or a mammy or just really called her out of her name, but I don't remember Katt even using profanity once during the encounter. He didn't make things personal until she did. I also think she lost the trust of Frank after the following interview they had the Monday to talk about what happened at the Atlanta Comedy Club. Even though a few local callers supported Wanda, I didn't see that Frank was swayed. They seemed to agree to disagree, and from that day after, their chemistry was forever tainted. I said back in September that Wanda should have been fired anyway because number one, her interview skills suck. She's a terrible listener. She doesn't come across as a very classy or knowledgeable person. And to be a comedian herself, she's just not really that funny. Number two, Wanda is notorious for shitting on comedians she doesn't like. For instance, on his 5150 radio show, Corey stated that Wanda would cancel his interviews at the last minute for some bullshit reason almost every time he came to Atlanta, simply because she didn't like him. Here, I'll let him tell it himself.
Everybody's scared to say something. I ain't trying to kick up no dust, but I just don't like bullshit. Like, look, let me tell you something. This is what this motherfucker wrote on Twitter. Black no fade. This is at Black no fade. Things happen when you let your wife believe she can run the men in the streets like she run the men at home.
Ooh, that sums it all up pretty much.
Ain't that what it is? Yeah. That's all that is.
Cemetery literacy.
Sore losers.
Kind of situation.
You could have lost a bunch of lives over something like that.
Lost your whole family. I just wanted to say this, man, to everybody out there. First of all, the whole V103 morning show in Atlanta, I'm here to tell you, man, that's a black hole. That's a black hole for entertainers that aren't her cup of tea, because the whole phoniness in the room, the whole canceling of interviews and all that shit, we know where that shit come from. So I hope that something is done where if a person comes to if a person comes to Atlanta
to promote
and has an interview on V103, like, I have to be like, well, I'd rather go on the afternoon show or something like that. But the morning show, that's where the bread and butter is.
Right.
And you have to go through this marginal talent that has hate in her heart. You can ask the comedians in Atlanta who was posting all kind of stuff about knowing how it really go. it's like I don't even want to go up there. I don't want no drama because this is what comes when you deal with marginal talent, if you ask me. So I'm just putting that out there. I hope something is done where if a person got to work in Atlanta, they don't have to deal with that. Right. And if we do got to deal with it, I'll be doing comedy probably longer than she'll be having that job because them radio jobs shuffle out after a certain amount of time. Now, I give her credit. She's been on there way longer than I ever thought.
Oh, how long? I mean,
she been on there a long time. Frank has left and came back.
But he was the original host of that show.
Yeah.
Okay, by the way.
Frank's morning show. And, you know, she was the personality on there. And I'm just saying, man, it's like, there's other radio stations in Atlanta. We did the Fox Theater. We sold it out and did another show. So it ain't stopping nothing.
Right.
But why do you have to go through that? Why do we have to deal with somebody who wants you to just take they shit, and if you talk about it, you get a gun pulled on you by somebody who act like they drop guns?
I have a good feeling that V103 will go back to its glory days of old and go back to being the hottest radio show in Atlanta in the morning. Plus, you got to remember, Atlanta is Hollywood South now. Plenty of A-list celebs are now working there, so it's a great time to jump on the hype train. With the show's 2 new replacements for Wanda, LA singer Jay Nova, and New York sports radio personality J.R. Jackson to back up Ski, the show should have the fresh blood it needs. I think it's about time. Now let's move on to Miss Tiffany Haddish and her New Year's Eve performance, or lack thereof. Katt wonders back in the fall about Tiffany's lack of stand-up experience, but again, I'll let him tell it.
You only got Tiffany Haddish. She been doing comedy since she was 16. You can't tell me your favorite Tiffany Haddish joke. Why? Because she ain't done a tour yet. She ain't done a special. She has not proven the ability to tell jokes back to back for an hour to nobody. And they already ready to down Monique and up somebody who has showed them Girls Trip. Did you think she wrote Girls Trip, goofball?
Right.
Or do you think that was already a script and they handed it to her? It's up to you, whatever you want to believe. I'm the introduction to Tiffany Haddish in the movie School Dance. The clip for School Dance has been seen more times than the movie has. That's just a fact.
Whether you like him or not, you have to admit that Katt was 1,000% correct here. Here are my personal thoughts on Tiffany Haddish. The first thing besides Girls Trip that I really heard about regarding her was her biography, The Last Black Unicorn. I did download and listen to the ebook, and I was like, wow, this homeless orphan girl who could barely read and survive sexual abuse went on to achieve stardom in Hollywood. I was so impressed that I started looking up her work to see how she blew out of seemingly nowhere. So, first thing I started finding was her stand-up videos on YouTube. One that had over 5 million views was from the Laugh Factory of a video titled Try Not to Laugh, and it was several of Tiffany's different routines. Well, I hate to say, I didn't even laugh. Didn't even really chuckle. You know, I was expecting like a Melanie Camacho or some more type, you know, a laugh-a-minute comedian, you know, but it just wasn't funny, and some of the humor was a little cringeworthy. So I said, well, maybe stand-up isn't her thing. Maybe she's a better, you know, actress or whatever. So I checked out her IMDb. I must have missed something, because she's on every fucking thing. Commercials, talk shows. So who is this woman? So I looked her up, and going back to 2014, all she's done was star in a handful of B movies, and she was in a few TV series like The Carmichael Show and Tyler Perry's If Loving You Is Wrong, and a whole bunch of other shit that I probably never watched because I don't watch used to be black entertainment television or corny network sitcoms. Really, if she hadn't blown up in Girls Trip, I still wouldn't know who she was. All I know is to start off her first nationwide tour like she did, her first stand-up tour, that's not a good look. I know she looks young, but the broad is 39 years old. She's old enough to know better than trying to work drunk and unprepared. I mean, she's not at that level yet. Here's her with her I Partied video. I know you've probably already seen it, but here it is anyway. And look in her eyes. That girl is zonked. when you look in a person's eyes and their eyes look empty, when you try to have a conversation with them and it's like they're looking at you but nobody's home, that's scary. But anyway, check this out.
What up, y'all? It's me, Tiffany Haddish, and I ain't gonna lie to you. I've been out here in Miami since yesterday's night or early this morning, and I partied. I partied all night. I partied not even night. I partied all morning. I went to bed at 7. It's whatever time it is right now, I'm up. Getting ready to do this show tonight, New Year's Eve. I'm about to party. I'm about to party some more. Who coming to party with me? Who coming to ring in the New Year with me? We at the James. I forget the name of the theater. Damn. Go to my website, TiffanyHaddish.com, we can find out where it's at. It's the James L. Knight Center Theater. James L. Theater Center Night. Ciroc is still in my system. The party's real though. The party's gonna be so lit. Get your tickets, TiffanyHaddish.com. New Year's Eve, let's go. Yay!
Alright, so me being me, I looked up her ticket prices for her next show. Seats started $109 to sit in the nosebleed section to listen to her talk about getting her mom out of the crazy house and starting her period. Man, the fuck? I can go to the Atlanta Comedy Club Valentine's Day weekend and see living legend Tommy Davidson for $35 and actually laugh my ass off and still have some money left over to get some crab legs. Anyway, last note on Tiffany, where I can honestly say that from the time I found out about her until now, where she lost me. At the time of my last Katt Williams video, I hadn't seen the Breakfast Club interview with her and Kevin Hart. I'd reported that all was forgiven between her and Katt at the Emmys. I didn't realize how cutthroat and two-faced she really was. The entire time during the Breakfast Club interview that Kevin Hart and her were together, Kev was shitting on Katt, talking about how he was on drugs and how Katt was blaming the white man for his problems. And this bobblehead bitch was sitting there in Kevin's amen corner, agreeing with everything he was saying, and then had the audacity to throw shade at Kev herself. Her comment, "Did I fuck his man?" really showed her true colors. Now, I would expect something like that from Wanda, but not somebody that helped put her on 4 or 5 years ago. Now, some of you may be saying, "Damn, Slide, you being rough on Tiffany." Well, here's something else I found that you may not have known. Katt spoke to Tiffany the day of the V103 interview to explain his comments, and this was a whole week prior to the Breakfast Club interview. He apologized then, and he apologized at the Emmys, and I have the receipts. Well, rather, Brett Grant has the receipts. Check this out.
You know, a lot of things got riled up that day after the interview. But what I don't understand is, after the interview, Tiffany called my phone and asked me, "Red, what's Katt's number?" I haven't talked to Tiffany in a while, but I said, "I'll make sure he gives you a call." Called her back and let her know Katt will be calling her. He FaceTimed Tiffany. They laughed and joked, and it was jovial, and he explained what he, was trying to say to her about her at the time and what examples he was trying to set. And everybody was laughing. He apologized to her then, and everything was cool. Well, I guess after today's interview, we realized that Tiff is still pretty upset. And, she got a right to be upset. But don't be fake upset. You feel me? Don't get an apology, on FaceTime and at the Emmys, and now you go on the radio with Hart, who I got a lot of respect for and love, and say what you, I don't understand it.
Tiffany knows her 15 minutes of fame were probably over 5 minutes ago, and she'll do anything to hold on to what little hype she has left. The whole fake ghetto girl persona doesn't portray us in the best light anyway. I don't have any hate in my heart for her. If she would just stop cooning, stop kissing up to these crackers, and stop letting people like Kevin Hart put a battery in her back to say some old stupid shit just because he helped put her on. And just somebody let her know that being real doesn't mean being ratchet. It just means being honest and true to yourself. You don't have to put up a front for these people. Now let's talk about Kevin Hart and how Cat Karma caught up to his black ass. Our Mr. Knight in Shining Armor, Sir Chocolate Dropper, had something to say, and he said it with his chest.
Good or bad, my frustration with Katt Williams comes from you keep pointing at Hollywood. Hollywood this, the white man, this, and this. When do you take responsibility for your actions? You had the shot.
Katt was in that position at one point.
You were the guy.
Yeah.
You were set up to be the star. You didn't show up to work. You fucked off promo shoots. You fucked off your promo fucking trips that they had set up for you. You became a risk to the studios, which is why the studios stopped fucking with you.
Why was he a risk?
He chose drugs.
Oh, okay.
Take responsibility for what you chose and say, you know what? I gotta fix me, and I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna stand up for comedy. So when you say Tiffany Haddish doesn't deserve or isn't really a comedian and these other women have worked hard, which they have. Shouts out to Melanie Camacho. Shouts out to Lunel. Shouts out to Leslie Jones, who are all underneath the umbrella of Katt Williams. Katt Williams, have you ever used your platform to fucking bring the people that were under you up?
Of course he had more to say. I mean, at this point, Kev is really gassed up because he knows Angela Yee, Charlamagne, and DJ What's-His-Face are all pro-Hollywood and pro-industry and are going to suck up to anybody blowing at the time. You know, however, whenever real niggas come on that show, all they do is try to tear them down by asking questions about something bad they done in the past. I love how during this interview, however, Charlamagne's sweet ass didn't even want to start with the Katt Williams situation, but Kev beat him to it.
You haven't. So because you haven't, don't shit on those that now are. I've used my platform and I've brought my guys and girls up. The brand of Kevin Hart is a brand that's expanded so fucking far, whether you like me or not. My presence in comedy will forever be felt because I'm a fucking boss. I sit on the top of it, and the opportunities that I'm giving are the ones that I'm creating. So take responsibility for what you did. You fuck you. Nobody else did. You don't hear Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, the Kings of Comedy, Seinfeld. You don't hear George Lucas.
Now I would play more of the Breakfast Club interview, but I really don't want to hear this dude run his dick sucker anymore. So I'll just quote him. In a now removed tweet, Kevin said in reference to Katt and Mike Epps, "White people love me, and I have everything that a black man ever dreamed of, but I am mad at you two niggas because some of y'all don't like me." Why everybody don't like me? Everybody's supposed to like me. I am at Kevin Hart for real. I don't do drugs. I never drank liquor, LOL. Katt and Mike, y'all not good enough. Sorry, go back in the field. Look at me giving to charity. Look at me buying jerseys for the kids. I gave Tiffany Haddish money when she was living in a car. I have my own production company. Man, woof. Now, for a person like me, that's a lot to unpack. White people love me, go back in the field? And what's with this I shit? I did this, I did that. I'll discuss that before I wrap up the video, but before I do, I want to hear from some OGs in the game. Let's bring Red Grant back into this.
The comedy community has always been about competition. Some of the statements today is like, I'm like, fucking Katt on drugs, kid. Come on, kid. You never seen fucking Katt do no fucking drugs, my nigga. Drugs? Weed? Good weed. Chiba? That's a throw. You ain't gonna throw Mike Epps under the bus of drugs. Oh, man.
Now see, as respectful as he did it, I'm glad Red checked Kev right there. The drug allegations, that Kevin made against Katt Williams and Mike Epps were tasteless and out of place. He also checked Charlamagne's one-sided take on the situation.
And Charlamagne, yeah, I know you don't know one of my jokes, but what you doing is insane, my brother. And I know you like to start shit. And I definitely know you like Kev more than you like Katt. Just in your conversations and the things you say. But don't be a fuckboy when you're doing that. Be you. Be your real self, my nigga. And if fuckboy shit is what you want, then alright. But I've seen some of your interviews and I like them, man. They cool. I can say Charlamagne the God. He gets some good interviews. But you know, your job is to start shit. And of course you put Kev and Katt on a comedy shit. You got two heavy hitters with a lot of backing. So, this truth that you looking for, Charlamagne, find out what a comedian is.
Damn, I couldn't have said it better myself. If you ever get a chance, really check out this guy's stand-up. He is really funny, and he doesn't get the credit he really deserves. Speaking of OGs, it wasn't long after the Hart Haddish interview that Mike Epps was on The Breakfast Club, and our old friend Charlamagne the Goddess Messy Ass couldn't wait to get to the bottom of his beef with Kevin Hart.
Get this out the way. What is the issue with Kevin Hart? Or is there an issue?
This is the thing about that whole situation. This is a lifetime achievement for all of us. And I think that some of us, when we get success, we turn into the police.
Explain.
What you mean police?
It's just, you turn into the police where you have a platform where you can speak on things. Everybody loves a winner, and that's the thing about when you win and you don't know who really is on your side. They just riding for you.
Now, I am so glad Mike handled it in the classy way he did. If you ask me, it was head and shoulders above the way Kevin handled it in overall maturity and chill. The way Mike Epps sees it, he's an OG with over 25 years experience in the game.
And hey, they can get any of us, man, So, none of us is perfect. None of us is better than anyone. None of us was godfathered in the business. We all started off with nothing. Mm-hmm. Every last one of us. And I'm a OG in the game. I've been in the business for 25 years. It's a lifetime achievement for me. And everybody tries to make it like, oh, y'all, you upset or you jealous or you bitter, this and that. Hey, man, I paved the way for all of them, too. Mm-hmm. I paved the way for that group of people. Yeah, that's why I don't understand how somebody could say that my opinion is hate. My opinion is my opinion. I mean, and in the history of comedy, there's always been beefs. This ain't even no beef. This is, because if you think about it, we comedians. Like, who? Really?
Mike said a mouthful when he said in reference to Kevin Hart. People can have an opinion about you. Just because you're the CEO of something or you have more than the next person, that doesn't mean that a person can have an opinion about you. Everybody's not going to like you, and you can't be upset at everybody for not liking you. Mike hit the nail on the head. Mike also mentioned what it's like to have the spotlight or a platform like Kevin does. When you're the number one stunner, you can project any image you want people to see. But the biggest takeaway I took from one of Mike's quotes was, don't get too cute in this business. And again, Mike cannot be more right as it pertains to Kevin Hart. It was just last December that Kev got caught cheating on his pregnant wife, wasn't it? He had to apologize for that. Now he's having to apologize again. Now, back when he was a real nigga, he said some real nigga shit about how he felt about homosexuality. He didn't condone it, and it wasn't something that he tolerated in his household. Now, an old tweet surfaced that said, and I quote, "Yo, if my son comes home and tries to play with my daughter's dollhouse, I'm going to break it over his head and say in my voice, stop, that's gay." He also had some so-called homophobic jokes in his older stand-up routines. Now that the same Hollywood he was just defending and gatekeeping for pulled his fucking card. Hart was slated to host the 2019 Oscar Awards, but the Transylvanian community, thank you Kaya, wanted him to apologize for some old shit from 2011 that he already apologized for. See, he got too cute. Got a little too full of himself, and the people had reminded him of his place. They humbled that nigga. And I can promise you that it wasn't somebody black who sold him out and dug up those old tweets and routines. In the meantime, queen of all dykes and chosen spokesman of the LGBT community, Ellen, allowed Kev to come on his show and speak his piece, which in turn he gave Kev back his official gay pass. If that wasn't enough, Don Lemon had to make Kev the highlight of his show 2 nights in a row. Don Lemon expected Kevin to cross over and become a champion or some kind of ally for the gay community. Kevin responded by saying it's not his life's dream to become an ally of the gay community. See, I always look a little deeper into things, and if y'all don't know like I know, he thought he paid his pound of flesh when he wore that dress on SNL, but y'all know that wasn't enough. But Mr. Hart thought he was so above it all. Now, I'm not going to lie, I do respect the way he handled Don Lemon, and I can only hope that this reminds him of where he came from and who actually put him on top, which was us. Because if you know like I know, what goes up usually comes down. But not Mr. K. Hart. This guy doesn't believe he's just #1 in comedy at the box office. He believes he's a superior human being. If you don't believe it, listen to him talk. And if this isn't narcissistic, I don't know what is. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I give to charity. I put people on. Nigga, just stop. The shit that made people like Richard Pryor and Patrice O'Neal funny was their pain and the shit that they actually went through in life. If you listen to D.L. Hughley, Eddie Griffin, Katt Williams, or Corey Holcomb, they don't have to put up a front for you to like them, and they're not gonna bootlick and ass kiss and apologize every time the white supremacist, Jewish, gay, Hollywood elite want a nigga to bow down. That's who we really need to represent us, the true ride or die that don't need to lie. The ones who refuse to dress like a fag for a bag. Instead of worrying about crabs in the bucket, do your own thing and say fuck it. Say what you feel and keep this shit real. If they call you a hater, tell them see you later. I wasn't called to preach, but if you watch this video to the end, give me an amen. I appreciate you. Spread this video around on social media if you like it. God bless. Have a good one. Hey, it's Slide. Now, before you leave, we're going to have a live chat session after the video. So take a couple of minutes, use the restroom, grab what you need, come back, and let's talk about it. We can talk about the topic at hand. We can talk about something new, or you can learn a little bit more about me. So stick around. I'm going to leave the background music on, and there may be some stills in the background, but I'll be here, and I'll be live. So let's have fun. See you in a minute.